Hey guys, welcome to part 12 of Refuge Recovery, a Buddhist path to recovering from addiction by Levine. And we're in chapter 9, livelihood/service. And there's Kitty. Okay, we try to be of service to others whenever possible, using our time and energy and resources to help create positive change. We try to secure a source of income/livelihood that causes no harm. I'll say that again. Livelihood and service, that as it were a statement or prayer for that idea, is we try to be of service to others whenever possible, using our time and energy and resources to help create positive change. We try to secure a source of income/livelihood that causes no harm. Okay. As addicts, most of us have been selfish and self-centered. When we try to establish this new way of life, we have to go against our selfish tendencies and turn toward a life of compassion and service. Each new member in a Refuge Recovery group gives us plenty of opportunity to be of service. He or she will need the support of the community. Offering our time and energy to help one another recover is one of the foundations of our program. Mentoring others through the 4 truths will give us the opportunity to be of service, which helps both the mentor and the mentee. Being a mentor helps us break away from our selfish and self-centered tendencies. As we set aside some of our time and energy to show others the path of recovery, we too benefit from the act of generosity. As we set aside some of our time and energy to show, being a mentor is a great responsibility. It means not only teaching, but also showing through our actions what it means to be in recovery. We mentor each other, and in the way we speak, in meetings, and in the way we practice meditation on a regular basis. Through talking with one another and establishing a community, we see that every one of us is experiencing the same thing. At heart, everyone has resistance to pain and attachment to pleasure, as we saw ourselves in the first truth. Suffering is a universal facet of human existence. We all suffer, but suffering takes on a magnified form in the addict. So the pain in life is given that we all have to deal with. But if we respond in a destructive way, as an addict does, we add extra suffering and dissatisfaction on top of that pain. As we recover, we begin to see that it is true for everyone, both addicts and non-addicts alike. Once we have acknowledged how much suffering we've experienced in our lives, and once we have clearly seen how much suffering there is in the world, the only rational response is an engaged compassion towards all forms of suffering. As recovering addicts, we must commit our life's energy to creating positive change. The compassionate response is both natural and transformational. An intentional choice to use our life's energy to free ourselves from confusion and to help others get free from confusion as well. We need to learn to respond with friendliness and compassion, not only to our own pain, but also to that of the world. For us as addicts, the necessity of transformation is too pressuring to wait until a genuine, compassionate understanding develops. Perhaps we have already been reacting with anger in an attempt to change the world. Anger is very understandable and natural reaction to pain, but anger, which is motivated by fear, is also a source of suffering. If we want to eradicate suffering, it makes sense to start with our own, but we don't have to wait until we are free from suffering to take positive action in the world. As our meditation practices develop and our perspective transforms, the anger becomes compassion. Outwardly, the difference may be minimal, but inwardly, the difference between acting out of anger and acting out of compassion is huge. Helping other recovering people in our community is wise and noble, but let's not stop there. We should also continue to try to be of service outside of our meetings, our groups, and our communities, getting involved in social, political, and environmental causes close to our hearts. As compassion grows in us, we will want to be more and more engaged in helping to create positive change in our communities and societies and on the planet. Or for me, personally, I'm excited about getting to be the best gardener I can be. Not just because my maiden name is Gardea. Anyway, helping the transformation from a selfish motivation, or I need to do this for myself, to a more altruistic one, or I dedicate my life's energy to the benefit of all beings, is a gradual one for most. It will come with time spent helping in the community. Hold on. What can I say? She's an actor's cat. She wants to be in the limelight. Helping others, recovering. There we go. The transforming from selfish motivation, or I need to do this for myself, to a more altruistic one, which is I dedicate my life's energy to the benefit of all beings, is gradual for most. It will come with time spending helping in the community, as well as through meditative experiences. Knowing that we have the ability to help each other recover and alleviate suffering, we need to bring that intention into the forefront of all our endeavors. This is done by fostering a sincere and altruistic motivation. To this end, in recovery, we may begin to say something like, may my life's energy be of benefit to all beings. May I be of service to my recovering community. I commit my life's energy to wise and compassionate work. The Buddha talks about altruistic motivation as a prerequisite to enlightenment in the Eightfold Path when addressing our livelihood. Not only do we have to use our livelihood or life's energy in a way that is non-harming to really be free, we also have to take in that extra step and do something positive, helping one another along the way. This does not mean that we have to stop our chosen career and become a social worker or dedicate ourselves to feeding the starving masses. For many of us, that's something extra, maybe just a shift in attitude and motivation in whatever we are doing, wherever we are in our lives. A shift towards the intention to respond to each person we meet with more caring, more kindness, and more understanding. A shift towards being more compassionate and wise with our life's energy. The Intenders, there's a group called the Intenders that I often quote, and their thing is to be understood, to strive to understand rather than be understood, to console rather than to console, to console rather than to be counseled. Although our motivation to help others may be sincere, it is important to acknowledge that it may not always be 100% altruistic. There is often a mixed motivation for service. Sometimes it feels as if we have to serve in order to forgive ourselves for the harm that we have caused and the negativity we have created. Such a response could be motivated by guilt, but it could also likewise come from a healthy sense of regret and a commitment to karmic purification. At other times, we may be motivated to serve out of desire to look good, to appear altruistic, and thereby gain praise. If we feel a drive to use all of our life's energy to serve, it is essential that we be clear about our motivation, even and especially when it is selfish. Serving feels good. We like the experience of getting out of our self-centered thoughts and feelings by focusing our attention on doing good for others. We gain love and respect for those we help, but we must constantly be reminded that, as the Buddha has been rumored to have said, quote, we could search the whole world and never find another being more worthy of our love than ourselves, end quote. Once we have found some level of ease and well-being in life due to our own spiritual practice and recovery, we don't get to just relax and enjoy it, knowing that the happiness and freedom we have found in life are very much a part of the fact that we're committed to serve all things with our life's energy and not expend it in selfish pursuits. We continue on that path as a natural course of action, doing all we can to bring about positive change in this world. The path of the recovery is part of service. On this path, we have many tools, education, resources, protection from harm, and the ability to inspire meditative transformation. That sounds exciting. Our mindfulness meditation practice, our formal and informal training, develops insight into all the ways we have created suffering. That wisdom is liberating, but it is also only one wing of recovery. The other wing is compassion. For most, some level of wisdom must be developed before true compassion can be uncovered. Then our care, generosity, understanding, and skillful response to suffering are genuine. Without kindness and without compassion, wisdom is lacking. It is imbalanced. It takes caring and understanding for fully recovered heart to soar to freedom. For many, this will lead to wanting to find a profession that causes no harm, and if possible, one that is of service. Now that we are living with the knowledge of cause and effect, or karma, we can't spend our time and energy in a job that causes harm to people, animals, or the planet. This would be counterproductive to our goal of recovery and awakening. Our livelihood also impacts karma. Since all intentional actions have reciprocal outcomes, the time we spend on the job is a major generator of karma. It doesn't work to practice spiritual principles at home while earning a living through something that creates harm in the world. By participating in a harm-causing career, we not only hurt other beings or our world, we create future harm for ourselves. Some of the traditional jobs to avoid are killing living beings, selling weapons, selling intoxicants, and making money in the sex industry. All these jobs create suffering and confusion on some level. So even if the easiest way we find to make money is through selling booze or drugs, we need to choose different work. If we profit from substances that cause confusion and suffering, we are actually committing an act of self-sabotage. If our job is, say, bartending. Sorry, my friend that lives here is bartender. If our job is, say, bartending, close attention to our intention may reveal that our work is motivated by greed. A bartender witnesses the suffering of alcoholism and the confusion of drunkenness, yet profits from that suffering because profiting from the suffering and confusion of others has a negative karmic consequences. Those who wish to be free from suffering should try to avoid all such jobs. In recovery, we must be committed to what is most beneficial, not what is easiest. Remember, we have set our intention to go against the stream. It is not the easiest way, to be sure, but it is perhaps the only way to achieve freedom and bring about positive change. From those who find themselves stuck, at least for the meantime, in a job that is not in line with their non-harming intentions, it will not help to be judgmental, defensive, or despondent about the situation. Do your best to show up and be mindful of what you are doing. Be as kind as possible to yourself in the process, and when you can, try to find means of livelihood that is more suitable to your recovery. Many of our members have been successful recoveries while still engaged in less than optimal livelihood. As a group, we hold no judgment about what one does for a living. Our only agenda is recovery. We know from direct experience that being engaged in work that causes harm will often lead to relapse or keep one recovery stagnant. All our members who have eventually transitioned into more skillful positions have reported an increased level of happiness and a greater feeling of contentment. This, in turn, leads to less cravings for escape and therefore ensures one's recovery. Service and wise livelihood are our guiding principles, and they are an integral part of our recovery path. Together, we will create a positive change in our lives, our society, and our world. And there you go. That's chapter 9. We will start with chapter 10 next, and that will be effort/energy on page 71. Love you guys. Namaste.